There's this idea that working with your CPA has to feel like going to the dentist. Awkward, avoidant, and just once a year. But it doesn't have to be that way. In this episode, we're talking about how to build a real relationship with your CPA, one that makes you feel supported and not scolded. So welcome back to this week's episode of Unfiltered Profit. We are excited to dive into this episode today because we don't think CPAs have to be boring. And that's calling dentists boring. That's also a meme. People don't like going to the dentist though, so it's okay.
Nope. I find it so ironic because I have a dentist appointment coming up and I was trying to find every excuse not to go, except it's like impossible to get back in with them. So I feel you. I understand this like feeling of not wanting to do something, right?
Yeah.
Not wanting to talk to your taxes, not wanting to see your CPA, but I think we're a little different. I think it can be fun, and I think the industry is shifting in a good way.
Yes, I agree. And there are still those CPAs. I've encountered them where it's like, oh, I dread starting this conversation because they're never going to stop lecturing me about whatever, like they do exist. We try to be different. So we're going to talk about how you can have a good relationship with your CPA. And the reality is that if you don't have this relationship, like they do exist out there. It's not just a sales pitch for us because we might not be your cup of tea. Let's be honest. Like we just might not. But there are still those that might fit you better from a personality standpoint, price standpoint, whatever it is, that are out there that don't have to feel like you'd rather go get your tooth pulled than deal with
Then email your tax person. Yeah, it shouldn't feel that way.
Yeah. So first, what makes a great CPA and client relationship from your standpoint, Caitlynn?
I think any relationship works off of communication. Like first and foremost, like you have to have good communication and they have to make sense for both sides. And I think as a CPA, it reflects on the clients I attract and the clients you attract. They match ours, even just like our individual communication style. So like me talking to Seanna's client looks a lot different than like Seanna talking to a client that I had acquired years ago. And that's because we're both different and how we talk. But you can find someone. And if you love phone calls and you want to go to their office, then you need a CPA who does that, who has an office and encourages drop-ins. If you're like, don't you dare bug me from 8 to 5, I need to do this when I'm home alone after work, then you need someone who works asynchronously and sends more emails or recorded videos in order to get in touch with you. If you like being able to text or call and say like, hey, just give me a call back when you get the chance, like that is a communication style. Some folks love those. I, as a millennial, feel that means that you have died. So can you give me some context, please? Right? Yes. You're either going to fire me or someone died. That is what that text
There is nothing good that comes from a, hey, call me at your earliest convenience.
Never. It is so terrifying. But that is for sure a communication style that people use. And other people do not feel how I feel when they get those texts. My husband is one of those. He'll be like, okay, cool. Call you later. I will think that the world has ended.
Yes. Yeah.
How about you, Seanna? What do you think is like number one?
Oh, I think the communication piece on both parts, that's one of the reasons that our primary differentiator is in trying to be different on communication. The number of people we hear that are like, I sent an email and I didn't hear back from them for weeks, months, ever, whatever. We don't want to be those CPAs. Additionally, like we don't enjoy it when clients don't answer our questions. We're not asking questions for fun. We're asking questions so that we can do the job we're supposed to do, that you have hired us to do. And so when we can't run because we're being held up by your lack of response, it doesn't feel good to us because we want to get it complete, do a good job. And if you're holding us back from doing a good job, then we sit here feeling like, well, they're going to be mad because I didn't do a good job. You're like, we tried.
We do. And I think there's also, I get this feeling of like, they're paying me and they're not responding to me. And then did I earn this income? Did I earn this money from them when I can't do my job? Oh,
it feels horrible. And our whole team feels that way because of the culture we have and the way that we hire. We all feel that way of like, they're not responding. We're not earning this. And I think as owners, we sit there and go like, I don't know, should I give them feedback if they're mad and leave? And it's like, that wasn't on us that they didn't respond. So anyway, I'm beating a dead horse on that, but communication is certainly the biggest piece for me.
Yeah. I think the other pieces would be trust. We're talking about sensitive information. On the bookkeeping side, we're working with sensitive information, accessing it. If at any point that trust breaks, that bitterness that develops, like, just walk away. If you can't trust your accountant, if you are truly worried something's fishy and not right, don't stay. Like, trust your gut on that point and just walk away.
And for us as the accountants, when we are licensed professionals, and we're not going to do anything to compromise those licenses. That's our livelihood. And so I have had instances in the past where there was a client situation that I was like, I'm sorry, I can't work with you. You don't want to do that the way that it's supposed to be done. And I'm not going to compromise my integrity and do that because I am a licensed professional. And if something happened, that comes back to me. And I don't care that I have professional liability insurance. Like, I still allowed that to happen. So it certainly goes both ways. It needs to feel good and be a good match on that integrity piece.
Yeah. And then just treating each other well. But I think a big part about this relationship is when it works well, it can last a lifetime.
Yeah.
And we see from birth to death. Like, I recently had a client, I got notified passed away. And that is just so sad. But like, that is that relationship, right? I will walk with their family through the end, because unfortunately there's end of life stuff that happens tax wise. That's the relationship you want, is that person that you're like, okay, they are with me through. You'll see some tax professionals through my wedding and through the birth of my children, through my retirement, sometimes through my death. And so that communication and trust, I think, are just the pillars of that long-term relationship.
Yeah. And along those lines, as you have that relationship, I think it's important that everybody's on the same page about goals and services provided, because it is possible that you as an individual outgrow your professional. If they're not in a place where maybe they don't want to provide individualized estimates for your tax planning, and you really need that because you're really tired of owing at tax time, then that means maybe you're no longer a good fit. It doesn't mean you don't like them as a person, but if they don't want to do that work, then they're not a good fit. Or maybe they don't have the expertise for what you're going through. Maybe you need some like foreign help, or, there's international work, whatever it is. It doesn't mean that there's anything wrong. It just means your goals, your life situation has changed, and that needs to fit with your professional.
Yep. And just like the professional needs to communicate if they've outgrown or decided to pivot and be like, hey, I used to do that. I don't enjoy it anymore. Yeah. So we're going to change. Or upfront from the get-go of like, I don't know what any of that is. And if you're willing to stick around while they learn, great. And if you're like, I'd rather go to someone who's been doing it for 10 years, then go to someone who's been doing it for 10 years. There's no harm either way. If they're a good professional, they're going to study up and figure it out. But it needs to be what fits, and it needs to fit budget and preferences and relationship and goals.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So let's talk about ways listeners can be a great client. And let's be honest, this isn't just for our benefit or the benefit of tax professionals. When you're a great client, you get great service. So yes, let's dive in.
You get bumped to the front of the line. You don't end up with mysterious fees on your invoices. You're like, where did those come from?
Yeah,
and you're
you get celebrated in the Slack channels.
Yes, right. Like, we want to work. Because what is it, right? When it's a great relationship, when we feel like our clients value us, like, of course we're going to bend over backwards for you. Like, we want to as professionals. So what we just ask, beg, would love to see from you: respond timely to emails during tax season. So if you are a person who prefers that asynchronous communication, that is awesome. But that also means if we send an email on Monday, you see it Monday night, but you don't respond to us until Friday night, a whole lot happened in between. And very likely you got booted out of whatever line you were in and moved to the back. Not because we don't like you, care about you, want to help you, or we're mad that you didn't respond. We just had to keep the line going. And so you kind of risk losing your spot if you're not kind of on that timely phase. If you're walking in, everything's prepped as you're there, just make sure you're coming with all your documents and you're good to go.
Yeah. And from a monthly bookkeeping standpoint, we're sending questions to clients on a monthly basis. We understand that things get busy, but there are times where we'll have clients that don't respond for months and months. And then they do respond, and it was a lot of questions they answered at one time. It also seems to happen that then they ask like, oh yeah, could I have updated financial statements in 2 days? And it's like, you just answered 150 questions last night. Like, probably not, like lack of planning on your part doesn't make an emergency on your accounting team's part if they've been trying through the months. So staying on top of those questions throughout the year, not just a panic in January, because to be honest, there's a lot going on in January with 1099s and everything. So you become a favorite client when it's like, oh yes, you always answer things. And now we get to just keep flowing into your year-end prep.
Yeah, and you feel better as a client too because everything's done on time. So just remember, just like with everything, there's always a workflow. And what we do is we have to slot other things in. Yeah. And so when you do pop back up, very likely other people got slotted in. And so you do kind of have to wait. And it's not that we want you to wait. It's just that the other folks had answered on time. And so they are in that flow. Yeah. A big thing is sending all your documents at once, which if you listen to another episode we talk about how like sometimes we're just not ready to file taxes because we don't have all of the things. Please, like, don't say it's all there when you know it's not all there. Like, you know that you get a K1 every year. Please don't send it without that K1. Say everything's there. I'm done. And then like a month later, come back with that K1 and cause an amendment. If you know it's there, like, again, communicate it. Say, hey, I'm expecting this K1. It usually comes in at this time. I have everything else. What are the next steps? How do you want us to proceed? Because I think that then pushes it back on the professional to say, hey, these are our two paths forward, or this is our path forward to make sure all bases are covered, as opposed to you kind of like almost pulling a fast one and like getting your return prepped, done, and filed, and then coming back later and an amendment being needed.
Yeah. And I mean, that goes back to communication, but like we say this to our potential clients, but it's like, we want to be the first line of defense for your questions, period. If you're paying out bonuses and you don't know if they need to go through payroll or you cut a check, you ask us. If any of that type of stuff, you might even think you know the answer, just confirm with us so that it all gets treated the right way, because the last thing you want is for all this stuff that could have been handled better to not be because you just didn't ask questions. So you got to be proactive. You got to loop us into the conversation along the way and like tell us if your business changes. We have new team members, new things out there, new offers. You want to track revenue differently. We can help with all sorts of things. Your accounting team can help with all sorts of things, but you've got to be proactive on communication about it.
Yes. And you're paying us. Like, you're paying us to be there. We want to know, but you're not paying us to live in your business day to day. So that piece, there has to be communication. And that goes back to finding the right fit. If the right fit is the person that you can dial at 7 p.m. at night, then find that person. If it's the person you're going to email, then find that person. Just make sure it suits you, it suits them, and you're doing the things. Yeah. So ways we're working, how are we trying to make it enjoyable for clients to work with us and want to work with us? Both us, like you and I, us, and then like us as the industry.
Yeah. Us are working very hard on it. And I think the industry is too, with some of the tech options that are out there. We're trying really hard to have clear timelines and expectations from the very start with clients. Proactively communicating, hey, it's tax season. Here's what's going on. Here's what you should expect from us. Here's our internal deadline. If you don't get stuff to us by this date, we're not going to guarantee that it's filed on time, because again, this is a partnership in things, right? Like, we're not scrambling at the last hour to do stuff for clients. So we're setting those clear expectations and trying to communicate that in a way that isn't like, wait, what the heck did she just say?
Right? Like, that's a human way. And I think that's what we just want you to understand is we want to serve you the best we can. We didn't create these deadlines because there's a deadline. That means there's just this manufactured pressure. And we're still people who have families and lives and hobbies and things we want to do. So we're not trying to be mean. We're just trying to make this all balanced, just like you are with your job and your business and your clients.
Yep. And we try very hard to answer as many questions as we possibly can from the information given. Does that mean we don't make mistakes and ask something that we could have found out somewhere else, but we didn't look in that spot? Sure, we make mistakes, but we try really hard to not be like, I know you just filled that out on that organizer over here, but because it's already built in over here, I'm just going to re-ask it here. Like, we try hard to use tech and to answer our questions where we can. So we're trying to respect your time and energy in this process. We know financials are exhausting.
Yeah, I think the big one, I try so hard, right? We have clients and I say, hey, let us know like the payments you made throughout the year. These are what we recommend, but just because I recommend it doesn't mean it gets done. And what happened was people would say, yeah, I paid it. And that's what I'd enter. And something we were human. Something got forgotten. They didn't actually pay it. And the IRS comes back. And so I started asking for account transcripts. And so many are like, but I already told you. I was like, I understand. And like, I hate asking you to do something else as a professional. I also hate letters from the IRS more.
Yep.
And so sometimes just know that there's a reason we're asking for that, as much as it might be like, oh, it's another thing to do.
Yep. And we also try really hard to not just make this some cookie cutter cattle car situation and give you advice that pertains to your situation. And we're trying to really learn our clients. And that's why we don't have a firm that just has thousands of tax returns we crank out. Like, that's not where we're at. We're trying to be a holistic team for our clients and give good advice and know their full situation.
Yeah. And again, personality. If you just want someone to file your return, please go to those places. Those fees probably cost less and it's easier, but your expectations have to be in line. You're not going to get the like, did you consider these tax strategies? It's a trade-off. It's always a trade-off, and it is okay. And it's okay to say that this year, this is what I have to do, or I want it to be this way. This year, you get to grow and change as people, just like your accountants do. And then, yeah, we're really just trying to own when things don't go well and where our part was and how we can fix it. And I will say to the end of the day, if your professional isn't willing to own up and fix their errors, that to me is something that you just need to really look at, because that's an integrity issue. We are human at the end of the day. The IRS is sending a letter because I missed something. I'm going to own up to that. And we will talk about how that's getting fixed. The last thing you will hear from me is like, I don't know, you read the letter. Like, that's just not right.
Yeah,
that happens so much. And it's just so frustrating. But we want you to be taken care of. We value, we want to learn, we want to grow, but we are not the 80-year-olds who have been doing it for 60 years. And sometimes the 80-year-olds who have been doing it for 60 years take forever because they haven't adapted to the tech. You never know, but we are gaining our knowledge as trying to do it quicker than anybody else, but things happen. We're human.
Yep, absolutely. Before we wrap this up, do you think that there are any like real life examples that we haven't gone over that just really send this point home or anything?
I think a big one we've seen, like when clients, like we said, goals change where maybe the people they were working with started to shift into like I just really want to do bookkeeping. And they actually were like, oh, I have tax problems I want to talk about. And so you'll see them kind of shift. I think a beautiful thing about our firm and maybe other firms is that we try to pivot with the businesses too. Like, we've recommended that individual recommendations for some of them to scale back their services with us. Not in our favor. Yeah. It's in their favor. Yeah. I would have preferred the revenue, but it wasn't right. And so we are constantly trying to. And I did that. Like, I have put some businesses into S Corps this year and I've taken some out. And that's because individualized, that made the most sense with their goals and dreams and desires for the next 5 years of their lives. And those conversations are happening. So please don't willy-nilly just go revoke something on your own right now. But if you're not having those talks, find the people who are.
Yep. And be honest with yourself. If you're getting bogged down in the financial work of your company, I think that's the other place is we see business owners that struggle by themselves for far too long. And I don't mean that they don't have us on the bookkeeping. They do. But they're the ones that end up with backlog of questions for months and months. And the reality is that an admin would have gone in and answered those questions. Like, they needed someone to partner with them internally that could get us that information. And they just still hold on to it too tightly. And that's where they get bogged down. And when you get bogged down, you get worse reporting, you get worse support, not because we don't want to support you, but we don't have the data to do a good job. And so you have to be honest with yourself about where that struggle is coming in and figure out how you remove the resistance in your financial process.
Yeah. And if it's not enough to say like, you just deserve better, you deserve that off of your load, like we have clients we are doing the books for, they are not responding timely. And so when I go to pull reports for tax estimates, I'm flying blind.
Yeah.
And so that means Q4 gets real surprising for everybody when that information comes in. And it's not because they didn't hire. It's not because we didn't proactively ask. It's because they got bogged down and they couldn't maybe justify in their head the cost of an admin. And now I have to say, hey, you owe all these taxes and potentially penalties. It's cheaper to hire the admin.
Yeah, that's so true.
So,
awesome.
So a strong CPA relationship is not built by being perfect. We are all human on both sides of this, but it's about showing up, honestly, communicating clearly, and building trust. And when we both commit to that, the numbers will take care of themselves.
Amen to that.
Thank you guys so much. Yes, we'll see you guys next week.